That common ground is in the percent OOS. Because the percent OOS is directly related to the probability of recalls. It's directly related to the probability of risk to the patient, at least by how we've defined our specifications. And it is a way to rank everything from that previous slide on a common axis. Clearly, this is our highest priority. Can you get that out of this? It's much harder. So this has been distilled and boiled down such that we can say in our annual review and discussions with our senior management, this looks like our highest priorities, and we need to develop a statistical process control program, which, by the way, SPC is not the same as control charts. SPC is actually the process of understanding the variation in your process, controlling that variation in your process, reducing that, right? As Schuhart defined it, SPC is actually a manufacturing management method. So let's institute an SPC process around the hardness of our tablets in plant 2 with product B and the loss on drying in plant 2, product B. Those might even be related. So we go out, we work on this, come back the next year and we say, hey, look at that. We have improved our process. The probability of OOS, the percent OOS, percent defectives has been decreased. This is what continuous improvement looks like. And that is a very powerful story to tell. But it's not the end of the story. Because notice what happens here. Oh, look at that. Well, if we zoomed in our axis, hold on a second, we would have a new set of priorities. Let me get back to that. So in summary, when you implement an SPC project, rank by risk to the rank by patient risk and prioritize. Work on the most important things first. For high and medium risk quality attributes, you may implement in your quality control lab an OOT limit that is different from your OOS limit. In fact, the only place where I know that out of trend is actually mentioned in the regulations is in the OOS guidance. And it's in a footnote, I think it's footnote 6, where these concepts of OOS could be applied to OOT. But the regulators have stopped short of being prescriptive of what OOT means. It just could be used. Yeah? And those same sorts of things, an investigation around why did it go out of trend? It may not hold up lot release, but it may still require some explanation. And we might set those OOT limits. Well, traditionally it's at plus or minus 3 standard deviations with Schuhart's control chart. But there's other ways. You use tolerance intervals. If you want to expand the limits a little bit, you might add plus or minus 3 standard deviations for the variability, and then another standard deviation and a half for the average, so the average can float too. Yeah? Or you might use plus or minus 2 standard deviations if you really want to keep your focus on this quality attribute. Notice, though, that where you set those limits will affect the rate of false alarms. And that we could go into. We could have a whole seminar just on that. Keep it in mind, though. With that, your material review board might look at the trends monthly. Not all the trends, just these, maybe these, the high and the medium risk. And there should be a proactive kappa. Instead of waiting for something to go OOS, you might begin work on the OOT signals. That will protect you as a company from OOS. It will allow you to invest in the process where it counts most. And you can have an intelligent conversation with everyone in the organization about what our priorities are. Now, this is also important. What do you do with the low risk? Right? Because by Duran's 80-20 rule, right, 80% should be the less critical few. Well, we don't want to treat them with this, we don't want to devote the same resources as we do to the high and medium risk to our low risk, or else we'd be wasting resources. So here we might open up our trend limits to plus or minus 4.5 standard deviations, et cetera. We might just review them at a reasonable interval. Maybe look at them once a year. Have manufacturing look at them once a year. Maybe just do preventative maintenance on them. Because that's this. And if that represents risk to the patient, well, we have more important things to do. The other message I'd like to share is the importance of reviewing annually. That is in the regulations, and it's an expectation, but it is different from revising annually. In fact, if you look at the ASTM standards, which by an executive order, FDA has been directed to use consensus-based documents as guidance documents. So the ASTM standards in particular have some very nice information around process capability and control charting. And in fact, it's actually quoted also in the footnotes of the 2011 process validation guidance. And in there, it's actually the period with which you revise is based upon the number of lots that you have, the amount of new information you've gathered. So you might go 100 or 200 lots before you revise your process. One of the reasons is we don't want things to change a lot. Yeah? If we have a stable process that's in control, it shouldn't be changing. And we need a big enough data set to understand what's happening in the process. The one caveat to this is that if you make a major process change, that's also appropriate for a revision. And that is why reviewing annually and revising appropriately becomes important. Because if you spend all of your time revising, it is again a waste of resources. All right, so, and conserve those resources, because if improvement is going to be continuous, that means that we haven't finished our statistical process control program. We have just reprioritized what we're going to work on next. So notice here, we've gone from a scale of 0 to 6% defective. Here I've rescaled it from 0 to 0.016. And suddenly we have a new set of priorities. Is this a problem? Do we have any problems that are more important than this, or can we put some resources on this? And that is how we could use the probability of OOS, the OOS rate, to set the priorities for our resources in our organization.